What's up, everyone? Regan here for MBartist, and I'm here with comic book aficionado and artist Stephen Ahola. And today, Stephen, we're talking about the Batman trailer. I don't know who's not talking about the Batman trailer, but did you see it yet? I'm assuming you did.
A couple million times, yeah.
A couple minutes. All right, so in a few minutes, we're going to be getting Jaime Coker on the phone, I believe, who's also an Uber Batman guy. But for the time being, what are your thoughts on it? What are your dislike, Easter eggs? What do you think?
That's good. You know, they're definitely following along the thread that they started off with the Joker. And I guess that makes sense since they're calling it the Batman. They're really tapping into the idea of Batman as the detective. It's not just a bad guy focused, beat 'em up style movie. It's going to be more of a whodunit, following clues, that type of thing.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I'm not. There's a lot of the superhero movies that I have not seen yet over the last honest to God, the last Batman I saw was Michael Keaton. I think I saw Val
That was
Kilmer.
a while ago.
I think it was Michael Keaton, then Val Kilmer, and then I stopped. And here we are 38 years later. But there was something about this trailer that really drew me.
Yep.
One thing right off the bat, I don't know why, the use of the Nirvana song set a tone that I just liked.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of the Punisher movies and the TV show. I found that it had a bit of that to it, a bit of darkness.
Yeah.
I can't put my thumb on it, but there was something about it that I've watched the trailer a couple dozen times. I'll definitely be seeing this one.
Well, they definitely pushed away from the Marvel prototype of the fun comedy aspect, and they're really doubling down on dark and gritty. So if they're trying to differentiate themselves, they definitely are hitting the right chord.
Is there a thing in these movies, because you know better than me, but it does seem to have this rhythm where they go light and then they get gradually darker and then they reset and they do a few kid-friendly movies and they go back to the beginning again. I mean, the last few Batmans I think have been darker, but I'm thinking more of like the Spider-Man franchise where now it's very family-friendly, the last couple, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
after getting a lot darker. Like, is there some kind of formula so that they can keep making these things?
Well, there's a formula, but I think what Warner Bros. Has been doing is trying to figure out what works instead of sticking to a plan and running with it. If you look at the timeline in terms of how the movies have come out, obviously Marvel got a jump on them, and DC wanted to catch up. So instead of doing the slow burn into a big superhero, they basically just did, all right, here's Superman. All right, now let's do Superman versus Batman. Okay, now we're going to have everybody. It didn't have the success I think they were looking for. So it kind of blew apart, and they tried to find their way. And when they finally decided to go this Elseworlds type, where they already had the Joker in production and they were queuing up the Batman because of the fallout with Ben Affleck, Wonder Woman took off. The director, I think it's Jenkins, she basically just did a reset and did her own thing, and it found an audience. And then Shazam came out, and that found an audience. And the one thing those two movies have in common, other than they share the universe, is they're a lot more of the Marvel formula, which has been successful. So it's almost like either by happenstance or coincidence, DC has found now two roads that they can travel along and be successful at. One is keeping the Marvel light and fluffy formula of the connected universe, which you're doing with the Wonder Woman 84 coming out and the Shazam 2 coming out, but also doing these Elseworld stories where directors can do their own take and they can go dark and they can go gritty and be more for the adult audience.
So in terms of what's been coming out the last 4, 5, 6 years, where do you think this one lands in terms of public interest right now?
Oh, I think it's gonna be like the Joker. It's gonna blow the doors off the roof, and it's essentially gonna set the tone for more of those type of one-off stories to come out. But of course, you know, the Joker was a big hit, and they've already started pre-production on that one, and that was supposed to be a one-off. And I think they've seen that there's success here, and I do believe that this is supposed to be Batman's year 2, and they've already announced that before this movie comes out, there's going to be a TV show on HBO Max that features the Gotham Police Department that's supposed to be a precursor to this movie to act as a year one. Yeah.
Right now we've got Jaime Coker on the line. Jaime is one of the creators here at MBartist, and I think we caught you right in the middle of grocery shopping, did we, Jaime?
No. No, just gonna go get some fireworks again.
Nice. Well, Jaime, everybody's talking about this new Batman trailer, and Steven wanted to give you a shout because he figured you would definitely have an opinion on it. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so the thing about the new Batman trailer is I like the direction it's going as far as the visual aesthetic. That looks really exciting. The thing that I might be a little leery on is I'm curious about how they're going to treat the villains, especially as Colin Farrell's supposed to be playing the Penguin, among other things. I will say, though, that I think they did a really masterful job of making Robert Pattinson look like, you know, the early in his career Bruce Wayne, making that transition.
Mm-hmm.
And not a vampire?
When I first heard the casting, I was really worried, if I'm being honest.
Well, like Steven said too, though, a lot of the diehard fans are very resistant to change, and a lot of them coming in, they were not high on them until they actually got into the movie. So.
Oh yeah.
I was saying before we started rolling the camera how every time they announce the casting of who's playing Batman, essentially all the Batman fans have like this big negative reaction, and then the movie comes out and all of a sudden they love them. You know, whether you got Keaton or Bale, like go down the list, even Ben Affleck. But the one person I recall that they didn't have that big kickback on was when Clooney was announced. And I think they were just happy that we were going to get another movie. And that was probably the most disappointing one out of the lot.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even there was a kickback about when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, you know. At the time, he was really only known for, like, A Knight's Tale, 10 Things I Hate About You, and people were like, you know, I think I remember reading around that time someone had written 10 Things I Hate About Heath Ledger as the Joker. And, I mean, that turned into an Oscar-winning performance. And now it's the kind of thing where anyone who decides they're going to play the Joker has to live up to that. And that's a daunting task.
Well, I think that was one of the big things from Joaquin Phoenix is a lot of his interviews and discussions was basically reflecting on his performance in comparison to Heath Ledger.
I think one of the things that he most benefited from was that he was not trying to play the exact same version of the Joker, because I think he would have been roasted for that.
Yeah.
He had the opportunity to, you know, make the character his own and put his own twist on the character, and I think that was genius.
Well,
that was genius.
And even in the trailer, like even though we did see quick flashes of how the Riddler looks, the Penguin looks, they had the scene where basically they probably ruined what would have been a nice surprise in the theater, the I am Vengeance line instead of I am Batman, to a bunch of Joker-looking characters. So they're definitely going to be hinting the full Rogues Gallery in this one.
Oh, I know. And then seeing Zoe Kravitz in an early version of Catwoman, you know, she's not as refined. Like, none of these characters are in their final incarnations. They're all still in development. Like, you can see that they've either just begun their journeys or in the very initial stages of their journeys. And, like, Pattinson's Batman outfit, if you really look at it, it looks like something he made himself. Not that he has an R&D department at Wayne Industries refine or anything like that, or Lucius Fox come along and make it better, you know, that he would be able to use it in a way that would strike fear into criminals. It looks like something that, you know, maybe he took a few nights during the week and put together, and now he's out fighting crime. You know, that's something I can definitely appreciate, rather than just focusing on, you know, the same origin story of, like his other Batman movie seems to be the same. We get to see him as a little kid, parents get murdered, now he's older, and now he's fighting crime, you know? I mean, Batman Begins kind of took like a different route by showing a little bit with the League of Shadows, but at the same time, it didn't show Batman in those formative adventures, which I think this movie will. it's just the idea that we're getting a Batman who isn't the world's greatest detective, one of the world's greatest fighters and strategists. We're getting a guy who is essentially passionate about fighting crime, doesn't want people to go through the same thing that he went through, wants to save Gotham, but isn't there yet. And that's wholly exciting. You're going to be along for the journey, which is really, really cool.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because one of the things that might come around to bite this film on the negative side is we just had a multiple season run of the build-up to Batman's birth with Gotham, and a lot of early evolutions of those villains. I wonder if there might be a little bit of, we've seen this type of thing before already in terms of early carnations of what the Riddler, the Penguin, and Catwoman are going to become.
Yeah, I definitely share those concerns. However, the one thing I can say is that I basically watched the first 2 seasons of Gotham. It was a show that I felt almost like I had to be loyal to, simply because, as a Batman fan, you want to show your support. But as time went on, I kind of fell out of love with the show, just because there were some elements about it that I didn't feel it felt at times a little too more campy than I would have liked to have been.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the story elements I wasn't too fond of. Like, there are definitely some things from the show that I love. I loved Robin Lord Taylor's portrayal of the Penguin. I loved the Riddler on the show. I loved Jeremiah. He was a cool character. Even though they weren't allowed to say the word the Joker, they still had a Joker-like character on there. But see, the show suffered because they weren't allowed to go full bore into that. This, I hope, is going to be something that's a lot darker in tone and not trying to appeal necessarily to, like, ultimately, I think a true Batman story doesn't necessarily appeal to families, but more so appeals to those adult fans. And this looks just dark, gothic, macabre, grimy enough to where I'm hoping it achieves it, because that's the impression I definitely got after watching the trailer.
Thanks for your time, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now we're going to hang up on you and totally disagree with everything you just said. All right, buddy. Take it easy.
That's cool, man.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
That's all for this episode, guys. Make sure you subscribe, because anytime there's something happening in comic book pop culture, we'll be here and we'll be talking about it. Make sure you check out MBartist.com, JamieCokerCreations.com.
MBartist.com.
I said that one.
Stephen Ahola. Oh, that's me.
Yeah, I was letting you say your own.
You want to try it again?
No, this one's going in.
No, this one's going in.
StephenAhola.com.
Oh, sure. We keep my screw ups.
Talk to you guys later. Peace out.